All right. Thank you guys for listening to the Animated Lounge podcast. I am your host, Russell, and today I'm here with Joey. And in today's podcast episode, we're going to talk about the Mandalorian Season 3. So we're going to talk about, let's see what's on my list here. We have quite a few things here. We're going to talk about, of course, the Blue Mandos. And we're going to try to give you guys at least a little unique perspective, because if you didn't watch the last one, Joey, or Grand Admiral Joey, as he prefers
Grand Admiral Joey. Had to.
He is our designated Star Wars expert with the Animated Apparel company. So I wouldn't consider myself a Star Wars noob, but I'm more like a Star Wars teenager. So I'm learning, I'm getting there, and so I got a lot of questions for Joey. So we're gonna get these answers today, and we're gonna have fun. So thank you guys in advance for watching, and all right, let's get into it.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. Let's roll.
All right, so the first thing, I guess, what were your thoughts of the latest episode? So Mandalorian Season 3. I'm sorry, Season 2, Episode 3. Guys, this is like our third take, so...
Don't want to repeat info. That's almost what I feel like.
They're like third take. So yeah, third take. So I'm telling you guys, this podcast world is tough, a lot of challenges, but we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through this episode. So thank you guys for working with us on that. But yeah, so what are your thoughts on Mandalorian Season 2 to Episode 3?
Yeah, so Episode 3 was really, really cool, because we're starting to see Star Wars kind of grab things out of the Star Wars universe that already exists. We're starting to see the Mandalorian grab things out of the Star Wars universe that already exists. So characters like Bo-Katan that existed in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, OG Star Wars fans, that watched the Clone Wars. I don't think she was in Star Wars Rebels, but it didn't just stop with the movies. We did some digging, a little bit more watching and digging. We know who Bo-Katan was and who she is, and so it's cool that the Mandalorian's pulling from these different places, kind of like how the MC universe kind of pulls from different things that we've been trained and that really works well and worked for the MC universe. It's really cool that now Star Wars is mimicking this, and this is like the first time we're getting to see like another character from the Star Wars universe. So I particularly really loved that about this episode, is that we're starting to see things like her, and then the mention of Ahsoka Tano. And so as we continue, we'll get to see those extra characters, but this is kind of that first bite of it.
Cool. I think I was probably like my thoughts on the episode is I thought it was a pretty good episode. I did see the moment like he gets on the ship, I did think, oh, here we go, another quest again, it's like I did see that. So, but all in all, I love the Mandalorian. I'm not a huge like TV buff. I mean, as busy as my schedule is, I don't really watch a lot of TV. So when I do watch something, it's more along the lines of like, I'm not gonna lie, it's all nerd stuff. So it's either Star Wars, comic books, comic movies. My wife is like making fun of me. She's like, "Are you watching another cartoon?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? What do you mean cartoon?" I started getting defensive. I was like,
"That's a deep cut."
Cartoon?
Yeah.
Like, these aren't cartoons. These are stories. These are my stories. Okay, if my grandmother can watch soap operas, I can watch these. Okay, these are my story. This is my version of stories. So, but I like the episode overall. I don't think I hardly ever say anything probably negative about Mandalorian. I think there were a couple things that happened in the episode that I was curious about. Like the first thing I would say is, I'm kind of going out of order of my topics here, but the first thing was because season 2 had such an emphasis on Baby Yoda eating the eggs, and honestly, when it first happened, I see him stealing these eggs. I've never seen Baby Yoda get so like aggressive when it came to food. Like normally he just kind of eats whatever's there, but specifically with these eggs, he was just like I'm getting these eggs, like regardless. I don't care who knows about it. I don't care who cares. He was just ruthless with these eggs. He's hiding them. He's sneaking them. He's destroying these eggs. And me and many other fans in the Star Wars universe thought there had to have been more to it. So we're like researching it really heavy. So I guess the question now that I'm getting into is with this latest episode, I guess, why do you think there has just been such a big emphasis on, food, specifically in terms of Baby Yoda? Why is there such an emphasis on what he's eating?
Yeah, so Baby Yoda questions are going to be a little bit tough just because there's not a lot that we know about Baby Yoda, and even harder, it's hard to know Baby Yoda's species at all. There's just not a lot behind that. If this was like a baby bantha, I could probably tell you a little bit more because we know how the banthas interact. We know there's a lot more things out there that's been unraveled about the bantha, but we don't know a lot about Yoda species. We don't know a lot about Baby Yoda even more. Like I said in the last episode, I think, from what I've been telling people on the internet, I've seen it in two ways. Is either it's a baby that likes to eat things. Maybe I don't really know why they made the emphasis on the egg, because the more that I see it, the more I see people talking about it, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm just overlooking the egg thing. So either it's just a baby who eats things, he finds things, he eats it, or he, from the highest of the high, he eats these creatures to gain their kind of life force. If all creatures have the force in them, then maybe that's how he gets his powers. And I'm going back and watching season 1 of The Mandalorian and kind of noting the things that he's eating while I'm doing it. Not specifically for the eating, but now I'm really paying attention.
Taking mental notes now, just
eating this. So I'm really thinking about it now.
I wonder what flavor that was.
How was that seasoned? And what would Gordon Ramsay think?
Yeah, I mean, he didn't just.
Yeah. So I'm going back and kind of looking at it. In the first episode, we see him, not the first episode, probably the second episode, we see Baby Yoda kind of chase down a little frog. He picks it up and he eats it. And another episode, it was probably the episode right after that. It may have been episode 4, I think, is the Forest Planet episode, where he takes Baby Yoda to the Forest Planet to kind of keep him safe. And there we see him going after a frog. He's kind of doing it, and the kids of the village are kind of laughing at him. Picks it up and he goes to eat it. The kids are laughing at him, and he spits it out, and the frog gets away. And now I'm thinking about it, I haven't thought about it before. He is a little sad when he lets the frog go. The frog gets away. So
that frog was delicious, man. I mean,
I would be sad too if I was eating a Whopper and it ran away.
I mean, how would you feel if your ribeye steak just got up and walked off?
That's a good.
Really? Well,
the point I make, I think I'd be okay if my bag of chips walked away.
I mean, knowing myself,
my prime steak.
I think the bag of chips needs to do more walking away, personally. But
Good point.
Chips, Reese's, Snickers. I mean,
right, all of that.
they probably all need to do some running away.
True.
What can we say? What can we say?
Well, he does look a little bit sad when he goes away, and you're right. Maybe I would be sad too. And then we see him eating, that bowl of soup, while the Mando and the rebel drop trooper are in that fight. We see him just kind of, he's happy. So we see him eat that, and then we saw him eat that starfish creature at the last episode. So, I mean, is it a frog thing that he likes? Is it water creatures that he likes?
Yeah, I thought maybe it had something to do with maybe their species or something like that. Because depending on what Baby Yoda is, maybe that's just something that is species. That's just what they like. I mean, it's just people from different areas and maybe different cultures just like particular types of food. I mean, there's some people that they're on a particular coast, so they love seafood. They grew up around it. That's what they eat. And with Baby Yoda, I mean, we don't know what he was eating before before Mando came along. We have no idea. So maybe it's just something like that. Is that it just? I do think there's an emphasis though, and like he definitely prefers live prey. Like he does not eat like if
That's
it's
a good point. Yeah.
It has to be alive. Like if it's not moving, he's I don't know about this, but live prey is his thing. And even the eggs, like when he sees the eggs and he's doing a whole little hug. Like this is it. I found the best dish ever. But I feel like Baby Yoda had to have eaten something similar to that before, because if he first came to it, how in the world would he know, oh, this is going to be the best dish ever? Like, how did he know?
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's so hard because, like I said, we don't know anything about Yoda's species as it is. And then Baby Yoda as even more we don't know. We know a whole lot more things, a whole lot less things about Baby Yoda than we do about Yoda's species, and that's not saying a lot because we know like 5 things about Yoda's species. They get old for a long time. They're green. They're small. They got pointy ears, and they're force sensitive. And that's it. That's it. That's all of them. I think if we characterize, just one person by 5 things, like, so yeah,
it's just not a whole lot to go on, and because it's so ambiguous, I feel like they can do. I don't want to say they can do whatever they want, but they really can continue to have us, I guess you'd say, just throw stuff out there to us as fans and just let it fester for a while. Let us keep talking about it and figure out what's this and the theory behind it. And they literally can come back and say, well, I finally sit down and ask Jon Favreau and say, hey, why was Yoda eating these eggs? No, they just tasted good. You never had eggs before? Never. It's like, yeah. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. I thought there was something complicated about it, but I think there has been some emphasis, because it's like, unless he has eaten those eggs before or eaten eggs, how did he know? I mean, was it the scent? Maybe was it just like he just smelled that these were just, worth these were worth, like just completely just. I mean, they had to have been so good that he was gonna at least steal them. I mean,
right.
I mean, the fact that he stole them and he didn't want to get caught. I mean, he just stole them and is hiding it from Mando, which kind of shows that he obviously doesn't want to get, reprimanded.
Yeah.
By him, but I guess it's just weird. It's like I feel like they put emphasis on it like for a reason, but at the same time, I'm also setting the expectation internally that if there could be no reason at all, it could just be simply this is just what he eats.
Yeah, and when you think about it, it's like when you think of Chewie and the porgs, it's like Chewie did not like the porgs. He didn't like them being around it, and then we saw Chewie eating or attempting to eat one of them, and we didn't see him eat it. I'm sure he didn't waste his time cooking it and not eating it. But and then that's all we got.
He was just like, I don't like these things. They probably don't taste very good, but I'm starving. There's nothing else around,
and they won't leave me alone. I mean, he was in a little. He might have started a little conflict with them. So
like, I'm going to show you.
And then Star Wars left it there, and we didn't crucify Chewie. So who knows?
Yeah.
It may.
Sure, so Chewie's face crossed out, like.
True. We, as fans, we just look into things. Yeah, and as Star Wars fans, we love fighting about it. So,
oh yeah, you're
very,
not a real fan if you don't argue with people on social media that you don't know about a series. I literally sometimes I'm a diehard like One Punch Man fan.
Right.
So occasionally I don't even allow myself to get into those arguments when someone's just like, oh, this character's stronger than this character, because I'm just like, I want to jump in like, don't talk about subjects you know nothing about.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Russell, the CEO, our resident One Punch Man expert over here.
It's like, don't talk about subjects you know nothing about. Like,
right.
And it's so crazy. But, kudos to George Lucas for creating such a great universe that people can argue about it even after he's gone. Like,
yeah, I mean,
you can argue and yell and fight about it.
Yeah, a very diverse universe, a very detailed universe, and so we catch details like that.
And I think speaking of that, kind of going into some details. So, in the episode, there was when Well, I guess before we go into that, let's go into the next portion because they kind of coincide together. But I guess what was up with the Blue Mandos? So myself being, I would say, not necessarily Star Wars new, but maybe Star Wars novice. Is a novice higher than a new, or are they about the same? But either way, so so I see these Blue Mandos and I'm watching it, and my initial thought are, at first I'm thinking, who are these guys? And then immediately when they take their helmets off, I kind of feel the same way Mando does. I feel the same way he does as a character. I'm like, why are your helmets off? What are you doing? Like, there's a pandemic. What are you doing? Like,
get those masks back on.
Put them back on. Like, I was like, what, being serious, I was like, why are you taking them off? I mean, this ain't the way. This is not what we do. So, and I think, Joey, when we talked about, again, guys, this is our third take. So, so Joey, I know your perspective was different than mine in that. So I'll let you share that.
Yeah, so I think that's what's really so sorry. That's what's really cool about The Mandalorian is that this TV show, it's so widely accepted by people that you have all walks of Star Wars life coming to watch this, from everywhere from the bottom to the doctorates in Star Wars. So you have all the lines of people coming to watch this series. People that might not have seen all of the episodes from the Clone Wars, know all the details from Rebels, read all the books and all the behind the scenes and watch the director cuts. So you start introducing people from other parts of the Star Wars galaxy, and you have people that don't know the story behind it, and then you have people that know the story aren't excited, and they're really excited about it. So when I saw Bo-Katan on screen, I was like, oh my gosh, this is really awesome. I'm really excited. Take the helmet off because I really want to see the character that they cast and how closely related she is to the animated version of it. So I was excited for her to take the helmet off, completely going over my head that that's not the way. And so when you get, Star Wars, when you get people that watch Star Wars that don't know all the details behind it, you have people that are already trained by the Mandalorian show that you don't take off your helmet. That's a big no-no. And so, and they really trained you in the last episode where you had the Marshal take off his helmet, and immediately the Mando was like, give me that back.
Everything that Timothy Olyphant is, I'm convinced he's the Marshal. Like, everything he's in, he's the Marshal. Like, I mean, he plays the same character in every movie, but I mean, one thing I love about him is that his swagger, though, like, is just, I mean, the guy has some style to him, man, and it's not so much fashion, it's like just how he is. Like, he's just a cool guy. I mean, what can you say? He's just cool. And so when I first saw him and that interaction, I was thinking, like most fans, I was like, get him, Mando, get him. Like, he doesn't get this imposter out of here. He doesn't, why is he not wearing a mask or not wearing his mask or whatever, his helmet? And then it turns around and we get the same thing with in this episode, and I'm expecting the same sort of conflict. I'm like, hey, like if I was Mando, oh no, give it up. Who are you guys? Give it up. I want everything, helmet and all.
Yeah, so you're already trained for it. That's they've done really well with kind of training you for it. And so when you get these two groups of people, one that will take it off and then one that don't, they did really good with mastering those, pushing those two together.
Right.
So Bo-Katan is from Star Wars: The Clone Wars. She is sister to Duchess Satine, and Duchess Satine was the pacifist ruler of Mandalore, the planet that all the Mandalorian come from. And Mandalore, it has a history of being ruled by big factions of different Mandalorian clans, and they all fought endlessly, war after war to gain power over the other people. And then Duchess Satine stepped in and she said, let's get everyone together. Let's combine Mandalore and we can be stronger together. And so, and even though she was a pacifist, she still had like that Mandalorian type blood in her. I know she should have, she definitely probably did. And that Mandalorian kind of blood, tells you, families, family, we're all brothers, all sisters, and we're warriors. And so these blue Mandalorian, she's bloodline of the ruler of Mandalore. She's up on top in ranking. And so you have these two different kinds of, our Mandalorian living in kind of a religious type of almost cult doctrinated Mandalore. And then you have these other Mandalorian. And so it's kind of, they're the same people, but they have different values. And we use this example before. Russell actually has a good example he had.
He gave the example 2 other times, by the way.
Yeah, 2 other times we've said this. It's kind of like when you think of the Native Americans that were in America before the Europeans came. Yeah, they were all Native Americans. You had different versions of the Native Americans. Yeah, the Apaches, the Comanches, the Saws. And so, yeah, they were all Native American. They're all warrior-like people. But they were different. They all had different gods. They had different customs, different, factions. And so they're all, one and the same, but not. And so that's what we saw with Bo-Katan and her Mandos. They had different values, different customs where you could take off your helmet, interact with people in that way. While the Mando was more in a cult, I say cult very, 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 very loosely. More, this is the way.
Got that vibe, yeah. It's more like it's, people hear the word cult and give it a negative connotation. I feel like with cults, there's technically, you can be in a positive cult and negative cult. If there's a situation where everyone's there and they're basically buying into something negative and it ends in, genocide or suicide or whatever, that's obviously a negative cult. But if it's something, positive, and I guess you can kind of argue that I can't necessarily say that the Mandalorian or Mando, that what they do, it does kind of have that cult-like vibe to it, to where they're all, this is the way, this is how we do things, this is the way we do it, this is the way we're trained, this is the camaraderie, this is what we do. So like when his character meets a totally different Mandalorian, it's like, hey, no, it's kind of cool that they're kind of like, no, you're doing it wrong, this is what we do, this is the way. What you do ain't the way. This is the way. And he's like, no. Hold on, no. I'm the main character, okay? Main character. This is the way. Right. So it's cool to see that dynamic though. But I like that it just feels like the more and more the show goes on, like you continue to see how expansive the Star Wars universe is. And I love that they're able to show us that, because normally when you watch a show like this, you follow one character, you follow their journey. And I love how they're able to tease us and show us different characters, different scenes, and show us all these different, communities within the Star Wars world. So I love that about the show.
Yeah, very diverse, very, but also very detailed. And they all have different ways of life. That's just how we are as people. Whether it comes to government, whether it comes to religion, or just groups of people just faction off different ways, and it comes down to it's either my way or the highway.
Exactly.
Lots of times, and that's how it is.
The Apparel company, this is the way. This is the way. Okay.
And that's a direct message from Russell, the CEO.
Exactly how I lead. I lead everybody. This is the way. Start every business meeting that way. Like, this is the way. And people are sitting across from me like, yeah, sure.
No, he doesn't start that, but he definitely does end it.
Yeah, as soon as he end, this is the way. Like, they're like, right. Whatever.
And I have spoken. Of course.
The whole end of it. But what can we say? We're nerds, What
right.
Can we do? I think it kind of, shifting more into like a business thing is that, for me, the word nerd always had a negative connotation, like growing up. Like, you were a nerd, that was a bad thing. And then I went through this phase of like nerd was cool and people would dress like nerds and things like that. But the way I see it is I love, I think we should always surround ourselves with the things that we love. If it's Star Wars, be a Star Wars fan. I hate hearing, like I would always hear that this is for kids. And I'm like, what do you mean? Or like, oh, you're in a Star Wars? Like, you're in comic book? Like, oh, you need to grow up. Why? Like, what do you mean? This is to me, I feel like it's no different than, I see like with sports, it's like when people are diehard sports fans, and it's like, oh, maybe you should grow up the fact that you want to, watch sports so much and you're not even playing it.
Right.
Why would I argue and diss someone who found something that's positive that they love? I mean, it's not that we're out doing something wrong, So I'm the type, be who you are. I mean, that's love what you love. You love Star Wars, be the biggest Star Wars nerd ever. I mean, you officially have my permission.
And that's what Russell told me when he hired me is, you have my permission. But I like your analogy with the football, or not. I don't think he said football specifically, but I'm going to. It's like, when you see sports fans, and I compare them to like when people say, why are you watching somebody else play a video game? It's like, because I like watching them play, and whether they're good or bad, I like watching it. It's the entertainment value.
Have you heard of HGTV? Like, why are we watching people build a house? Like, I mean, don't talk about what I like. Go over there.
Good point. Yeah, or building a house. That's a good point. I didn't even think of that. I was just using sports. But.
That's great. They're going to the store, buying wood supplies, building it. Why am I doing this? I can build my own house. Like,
right.
Because it's entertaining, duh. Like, it's entertaining. But I feel like, a lot of it is just people. Unfortunately, people like what they like, and so, I'm very grateful that I have the wife I do, because she's, she allows me to be as nerdy as absolutely possible, and sometimes my nerdiness can be extreme, and she's just like, she's so happy. She's like,
you do you, man.
You do you. She's like, it may not be her cup of tea, but now if she needs me to explain something, she's like, so what about this? As we're watching a show, she's like, what about this? Like, why is it this way? And I like, at that point, I'm like,
and then you're the hero.
Let me come in, pull on, attach the cape, and come in and just start explaining things. And it's actually kind of cool too, because I think that because people know what I do now, so people kind of start to gravitate towards me. And it's like I meet so many closet nerds, man. You meet some guy and you wouldn't even expect him to be, into this stuff. But then he's talking to me and he's just like, so, Russell, like, yeah, hey, how you doing? Like, yeah, so did you watch The Mandalorian?
It's a secret. Did you watch The Mandalorian?
I did watch The Mandalorian. And he's like,
do people know?
Yeah, he's like, he's like, so what do you think of the episode? And then we're talking about it before you know it. Then afterwards, he's coming to me for everything. Hey man, did you? I'm like, I actually didn't go that far. Sorry, I didn't go that far. But but I meet a lot of that. So anyway, that's kind of what Anime Apparel Company is about. Anyway, man, it's just be who you are. I'm constantly encouraging like everybody to just. If your nerdiness is like here, like I know there's more. There's more in it. Like embrace it, be who you are. So that's me. So anyway, let's get back to Mandalorian for people just kind of like, oh my goodness, they're going everywhere. Guys, we have a plan. Trust me, we have a plan. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is something that, as I've watched The Mandalorian, is I always wonder, why is The Mandalorian so trusting? Because I kind of view Mandalorian or Mando as more of like an outlaw, more of kind of I got to do, very focused. Basically, I see him as someone who's very focused, someone who has a goal, and he's going to do everything it takes to hit that goal, keep his word no matter what. But it seems like constantly, like when he's pulled on these quests, or even like in this episode where he's trusting of, I don't know, what do we call it? Squid people? He's trusting of these guys, and it ends up backfiring on him. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, why, Mando? Like, you should have learned by now, like all of season 1, beginning stage of season 2, like you should have, I think he would have learned this. But I guess sum it up, my whole question is, why do you think Mando is so trusting?
Yeah, I think if we disregard story arc to keep it moving, I think it's probably
plot necessity.
Yes. if we just disregard that,
I think boring if he just like walked in, like just didn't talk to anybody.
Yeah, I'm going that way the whole time. I know exactly where I'm going.
This is the way, literally. This is the direction.
The way. This is the direction. So I think it comes down to desperation. He lost all of his family members, anybody he's ever known in his clan, they were all wiped out. So I think it comes down to desperation, one, to get the child to the Jedi, but also to come across other Mandalorian, other people like him. And so it's I would almost ask you the question, like, what would you do to to find family members if you were the last one?
I wouldn't have even been searching. I mean, it's just been sorry, family. I love you guys all. I love you all. I'll be there for Thanksgiving. But yeah, I just would have been like, I mean, I see you when I see you. It just kept, it just like, I mean, but I understand from the Mandalorian's perspective that also goes back to the cult-like atmosphere that they have of like that camaraderie, that brotherhood, I guess I
don't know if he'll feel safe with his family, but he's got to find. I think you're right. He's got to find that brotherhood type people with him.
I guess for me, I would think of it more of like, how do you feel when you come across, out of all the people out there, when you come across somebody who is a diehard like Star Wars fan, and you guys like agree on everything, and you beat that person, you're just like, oh my, you're so, it's almost like that. I mean, I guess that's the only way I can kind of explain it. Like, maybe he's searching for that. Like he knows they're out there, and that's kind of how we'd be. Like, we're searching for that diehard Star Wars fan. We know they're out there. We know it's somebody who thinks like us, who agrees with us on these theories. Where are they? And you guys just connect with those people. Maybe that's a bad example, but anyway.
Well, as a Star Wars fan, that's very rare that that we connect on things. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point. And it's funny. I was kind of thinking of like my job. I do graphic design full time, and so when you are the only graphic designer in your building at your print shop, it's hard to kind of communicate some things, hard to explain things from a graphics perspective, and especially from how the mechanics of the design programs work. But when I talk to other designers and I talk to my designer friends, it's like you speak the same language almost. It's like, oh, finally I can say this string of things, this jargon, and you know exactly what I'm talking about and why that's hard to do the things. So it's kind of the same way.
As a new entrepreneur,
yeah.
As I meet other business people, like, and we can talk, I'm like, because most people, I mean, and I don't say this in any disrespect, so apologies in advance for anyone that gets offended, but it's hard to talk to other employees. It's just hard because it's just mentality. It's like we think the same. We don't think the same. We got different goals, we got different strategies planned. I mean, we just can't even, we're just not on the same thought pattern, so when I meet somebody that's another business person and I can actually talk, not even necessarily a business person, but an aspiring business person, and I can actually talk to them, or not necessarily that, but someone who's a creative, because I feel like I have a lot more in common with people that are the creative type personality. When I get around those people, dude, I'm telling you, like, we literally can sit and just talk just for hours.
Yeah. It's like that glass of fresh water. It's just,
I know.
It's like you're loosely trying to translate things to people, and finally you're like, oh, here's my native tongue.
Finally, because we start talking. I'm like, finally, somebody that makes sense around here, because because I can't. It's not at a point where like I can't. Employee problems are different than business owner problems. So it's kind of like, to talk to another employee about employee stuff. I mean, employees are concerned about one thing, or business people are concerned about an entirely different thing. So, when I'm talking to employees, it's very difficult because it's kind of like, they're talking about, oh, I didn't get time off. Or I'm just like, what is this time off you speak of? That's a foreign. Where is that?
Never heard of him.
What is that? Is that?
Haven't heard of him in a while.
Time off? What are you talking about? What? And they're like, you don't take time off? I'm like, again, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Like, if I do take time off, like time off, I'll get a text, there's an email, or there's something important, really important that has to be done. So my job is never finished, but that's okay. I chose this life, and even when I was an employee, I was a worker anyway. So I was the type, once I got through working, I'm like, okay, what else can I do? And my boss is looking at me and I'm like, I'll work for free. He's like, free? Yes, I work for free. Why? I just want to see the company succeed. He's like, are you serious? But that's just like person I am. It's like, hey, like I'm not doing anything else with my time. Like, let me do something productive with my time.
Yeah. Time off? You mean working holidays?
Yeah. Working on holidays is like a whole nother podcast topic. Like, should you work holidays? Most people already know. I'm like, why not? You're just gonna sit at home and just eat. I mean, you might as well do something.
Yeah, Russell. Yeah, that is what I'm gonna do. Thanks.
Remember, we talked about the food running away from us. Yeah, was that this podcast? Was that this episode? Yeah, this one we did like 3-4.
It's like we're podcast in a podcast in a podcast.
Yeah, we're like Inception podcast.
Yeah, Podception. Did I say that? I don't want to repeat things. Ask me about the Mandalorians. Oh wait, we did. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I'm being funny.
No, I'm like,
you already asked me about the Blue Mandos.
I'm seriously looking at my shit like, where? What? Yoda, speak to me. Like, you know what?
Right.
All right, so we'll get back to Mandalorian.
No.
The last thing I have was the question I had, which I don't know if anyone else has this question. So if I'm the only one, I'm okay with being, an individual and unique. But the question I had was, so at the end, or guess while they're on the ship, so Mandalorians hop on the ship, they fight the stormtroopers that literally, can't hit anything.
Notoriously. Actually, legendarily can't hit anything.
They could have just walked right in, and they just could have just been shooting everything. It's like, oh, hey guys, how you doing? But surprisingly, when Mando jumped out there, he ended up getting hit once or twice, but it just bounced off his armor. So I kind of thought, I was like, is he risking his life here? Because why would he for these, and my thought was why would he for these fake Mandalorians? But now I know they're real. So, but so going to what I was going to talk about here is so once they're doing that and they get to the actual, I don't know what you call it, sorry guys, I don't know ship lingo. But
the cargo bay.
Yeah, cargo bay or cockpit or whatever, where they're actually steering it. And so when they get there, and once they kind of defeat the Russian army, kind of how they were acting basically. There's the little hologram where the guy's talking to him basically. Before that happens, the hologram comes up, and you see that same guy again that we saw at the end of season 1. I didn't know what I just knew he had a lightsaber. And so I saw lightsaber, and originally I'm just like, okay, who is this guy? And now he piqued my interest because he had a lightsaber. So I'm like, who is this guy? But they talked to him specifically. So my question is, I think he said he was Dark Saber, I think is who you said he was earlier.
No. That's what he carries.
Oh, he carries the Dark Saber. Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess my question more or less is who is this? What's his significance? I mean, do you think he's the big bad essentially of the whole season?
Yeah, so his name is Moff Gideon. He is a Moff in what's left of the Imperial Army. So when the Imperials came around, do what?
I feel with Star Wars, I always feel I should write everything down.
Write that down. The SpongeBob episode. Write that down.
I'm getting in a Facebook group argument tonight
with this info. Yeah, so his name is Moff Gideon, and the Moffs were around when the Empire was around, and the Moffs were they were above the planets. So on the planets, of course, they have governors, mayors, but then you had planet talk people, almost like the representatives. The Moff was above different sectors of the planet, and you had a bunch of different Moffs, and they did a few different things, but the Moffs were kind of the high dog, and they interacted a lot with the military. So they weren't military. They weren't over the military commanders, but they did interact a lot with the military because there has to be some kind of correlation between them. a famous Moth that most people know about is Grand Moff Tarkin. He's kind of like that a Skeletor looking dude in
I need a picture. I'm like, who? Like what?
Yeah, he's so if you remember like when the Death Star was built, he was kind of like that. We're here to destroy your planet and blah blah blah. And he's the one that built the Death Star. How did I forget that Star Wars movie? In between 4 and 3. Oh my gosh!
I think I'm still gonna need a visual.
You should Google it real quick. I'll kind of.
Let me Google it. You said
know
it's.
him when you see him. And I can't. How did I love that movie?
Forgive me, anyone listening to this who's just like
Rogue One.
This guy. Okay, I never saw that movie. That's why.
Oh yeah, you gotta.
That one I skipped. It was Born in the beginning. That's why I was like, oh, what is this?
No, that's a good one. You gotta watch that.
Darth, what was it?
No, Moff Tarkin. Moff. M-O-F-F.
Oh, not moth like the.
No, not like the bug. The scary bug. The fake butterfly.
Oh,
So he was in the original movies.
Okay. I've never seen this guy, but I guess I'd have to.
He's one of the more notable ones that
he looks familiar. That's the thing about it. It's like he looks familiar, but I'm like, I'm not.
If you remember in like A New Hope, Princess Leia and him are interacting, and he's saying, show me the rebel base. She doesn't want to show him the rebel base, and then he blows up her planet in retaliation. So he's that guy. He helps create the Death Star. So yeah, he's one of the more notable ones. But anyways, he's like the top Moff at the time. So you have the different Moffs. You have the top Moff, and then the Empire is disbanded, and you have different warlord factions come together. You have Moffs trying to gain control. You have different generals trying to gain control of the Empire. You have Thrawn is somewhere out there trying to gain control of the Empire. He should have been the enemy in this, and might be, but. You have different people like him. He could be
pulling the strings, like
he could be above the Moff. I mean, he definitely could be. So he, you have these different factions, and so what I can tell is that Moff Gideon was definitely one of those warlord people who started pulling pieces of the Empire together. He took control of his sector and said, "Okay, we're going to rebuild from here," and that's kind of what he's doing now. We see him in the last episode of The Mandalorian with the Dark Saber. He cuts his way out of the TIE fighter. The Dark Saber is really, really important to the Mandalorian because when Mandalorian was being ruled, the Dark Saber was created, and that was kind of given to like the highest ruling person in Mandalore. Darth Maul ended up acquiring it at one time when he was over Mandalore. He took over Mandalore and had the Mandalorians under him. So you have this Dark Saber. You're kind of the ruler of the Mandalorian, and so I have a feeling he will end up using that in some way to either persuade other Mandalorians to his side. He may end up using it, or he may end up keeping it as a trophy, as a treasure. So that's kind of who he is. He's just kind of a top Imperial dog. May not be the highest, but he is definitely really high on the list. And he's just controlling kind of the Imperial factions, the Imperial worlds. And that's.
And I know if the Mandalorian, like if Mando ends up, I guess, excuse me, like if Mando actually comes to a point to where he's, I guess, going after this guy. So if their stories intertwine, basically, I guess what I'm thinking about is, let's say at the end of the season, he ends up, having to fight this guy or whatever. The villain gets away apparently in the Mandalorian all the time. The villain gets away. So if they come together and he actually ends up getting away, is that going to put the Mandalorian specifically on like the Imperial radar, basically, to where?
Well, he definitely is already on some, based on the last, he's got the kid, the Imperials want the kid. So he's already on that radar. I think it would be cool though if, they eventually do come to some kind of hand-to-hand, maybe some kind of sword-to-sword battle, because and actually he's looking for the Jedi, and the Dark Saber worked as a lightsaber. It was a type of lightsaber. So it could come down to, he's trying to find these Jedi, and these Jedi end up getting wrapped into trying to take down Moff Gideon to get back the Dark Saber, or just to, disband the Empire.
Somehow, I think the child, as we'll call him, or Baby Yoda, is I like that the story itself. I mean, I like that the story is just not centered around Baby Yoda. Like he's part of it, but he's not like he's not the main plot point. It's like, yeah, we need to take him to the Jedi, but at the same time, now there's going to be this internal. It sounds like there's going to be a lot of conflict, basically. And I'm assuming the Mandalorian is going to actually come across the Jedi somewhere in the story, and I think it's probably going to come up pretty soon, in my opinion. I think it's actually going to happen pretty soon, and I would say the reason for that is because I think that for one, it's only 6, 7, 8 episodes, so it's not very lengthy series. We're almost halfway done already, so I feel like it's going to have to come pretty soon, because depending on where they want to take the story, if the guy we saw is going to be the big villain at the end, he's going to have to meet the Jedis very soon. So maybe in this episode coming up or the next one. And then we're going to figure out, see what kind of they're about, and, what are they doing at this point, in the Star Wars universe? What are they doing is going to be the big question, I would say, for me, because I've been a Jedi fan. So I'm really curious to know, what are they doing? And at the same time, maybe once they come across the child, maybe we'll get a whole lot more information as to who the child is. Hopefully, at that point, it's not like, he's so cute. Who is this thing? Or what is this thing? And then they're just clueless. What is he? I don't know. But he likes eating frogs.
So we dubbed him the Frog Eater.
Yeah, give him a weird, completely ridiculous name. It's really, I don't think so. I think that the way they're going, Jon Favreau, I see he does treat the Star Wars universe with respect, but he's a diehard comic book fan and Star Wars fan too. So he treats it with respect as he's writing the scripts. I hope he's writing it, and I'm not giving him credit for writing it. He's he didn't.
Right.
But whoever's working on it, I mean, they are actually treating it with respect, and I love that. I think they're doing a fantastic job, and I hope they keep it up.
Yeah, they're doing really awesome with it. I hope we at least get Baby Yoda's name this season. We're planning. The audience doesn't know this yet, but we're planning a Baby Yoda top Google questions, and one of them is, what is Baby Yoda's name? Of course, and
totally see the video. Totally see it.
Not anymore.
Fingers blown.
Yeah. So it's I started Googling this because I was like, okay, what are other people asking? What do people think? One of the directors put on Twitter, just put it very bluntly, his name is Nigel.
Of all things, we have this crazy expansive universe, all these different dialects and characters. And
Nigel.
His name's Nigel.
Yeah, so we can at least count on it. We can probably count on it not being Nigel, because I don't think he would come out, and I don't think his name would be George. So Nigel, we can at least count those two out.
Anything I think simple is just out the window. So it'll be interesting. Maybe they'll have a name reveal party. That Mandalorian's he's actually throwing and reveal his name.
Name reveal.
Yeah, there'll be confetti, everything, make it a big deal. Him and that, he can't have it in that busted ship of his. It's so crazy because he has this really expensive armor that people were even trying to steal. I think they were trying to steal it in season 1, and when it comes to his ship is just it gets me from A to B.
It's
barely.
It's a pretty, the maneuvers we've seen it do, it's pretty versatile. So we don't know what's in that ship. If we think of the Millennium Falcon, there are probably millions of Millennium Falcon branded ships in the Star Wars universe, but none like what Han has put into the undercarriage. So
Mandalorian ship is held together with rope, bubble gum, duct tape, super glue,
thoughts and prayers. To his credit, it only recently looked like that. So the guy's busy. The guy's got a kid now.
Yeah, he's I'm a father now. I've inherited Nigel, and I got to take care of him. Don't even know what Nigel eats, so...
Everything. everything that moves.
Yeah, all living things apparently.
Frogs especially.
Yeah, he really loves frogs. I don't know what it is now. I mean, I've had frog legs; they're okay, but not like nothing to where I'd want to just like, you know what, this live frog, like it's going down. Like I'm just
no. I haven't thought of any animal actually where I thought this is going down.
I'm eating this animal raw. Like,
no, I want food well done.
Yeah. I mean, you don't like eat anything, like you don't eat like steak. Your steak is well done too. Are you one of those people?
Yeah, actually, yes. I prefer foods burnt. I mean, crispy. Like I don't know. I'm a weird eater. I like to eat the almost burnt, dude.
Wow.
I'm so bad at that. I know.
I won't hold it against you.
I don't for that.
I don't even eat steak. So
I don't like steak either, but when I eat it, it's burnt.
When me and my wife go to a steakhouse, I literally order catfish. That tells you, like, we're at a steakhouse where they serve steak, and I'm like, let's see, do you guys have, well, the usual, like, you know, chicken tenders is always on the menu. And I was like, I don't want chicken tenders. I'll take the catfish. And they're just like, people always take my order and just look at me like, are you serious? Like, you came here and you want catfish? I do, yeah. Catfish actually is pretty good, actually. Thank you.
You know what? I never think of getting catfish. I think I always go to burgers when I'm at steakhouses, but I probably only get fish at fish places. I'm gonna start thinking of catfish now.
I love seafood, so I love seafood. Yeah. So I mean, you know,
you and Baby Yoda.
Apparently, you know, who knows?
His name may be Russell. I mean,
maybe that actually be pretty cool. Actually, I mean, I personally like. I don't know why I always hated my first name. I always hated Russell. So I don't know why. It just doesn't roll off the tongue well. It's like, what's your name? Russell. Like, it doesn't even sound good rolling off the tongue. But so usually, you know, we go with, you know, Russ, or even the nicknames are like, I thought about changing it. Maybe I'll change it to Nigel.
Nigel. I would have so much more respect at Nigel. Oh yeah, Nigel, we have the shrimp on Bobby.
All right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I don't want anyone else and listen to this podcast and are just like, oh my goodness, I've learned 10% Star Wars and the other was like 90% everything else. But I hope you enjoyed the everything
and
else.
Catfish.
Yeah, and we did talk about catfish today.
Yeah.
As well as all the crazy things that Baby Yoda eats. So now we'd actually like to hear from you guys, our audience. So we'd like to hear from our community. So feel free to follow us on social media, of course, at Animated Apparel Co. Joey, where can they follow you on social media? Or what's your name?
You can find me on Instagram. It's grand_Admiral_Joey. That's where I'm usually pretty active. But yeah, join our community on the Animated Apparel YouTube channel, of course. And if you listen to this on Spotify, if you found us on Spotify, there is the video episode on YouTube that you can check out. Vice versa, if you found us on YouTube and you like longer form content while you're at the gym or while you're out fishing for those catfish, you can find us. You can find us on Spotify
with your random child that you just happen to pick up.
Right.
Take them to the Jedi. Sure. Yeah. Where are they? No map.
That's the way,
nothing.
Russell. I mean, that's the way. That way.
I could be in this show. I'm telling you, I could be Mando because I'm like, dude, I need facts. Like,
right.
You go to the Jedi. Here. where are the Jedi? Who are they? And what is this kid? He's green. Like, what? I don't know. But
yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you can follow us. Of course, follow us on social media. My handle, Russ_the_CEO. Definitely, reach out to us. Let us know. Do you like the podcast? Do you think there's something we could have done different? Something we could have done better? Certainly just talk to us. We'll do everything we can to, answer questions that you have. Just don't ask me a Star Wars question because I probably won't be able to answer it. I will forward it over to Joey.
He'll text me.
Answer it for me, and then I'll answer. But it'll be Joey's reply.
Yeah. He'll text me and say, Joey, go talk to these people.
I don't know this. What do they want? I don't know. I don't know what to do with my hands. Like I don't know. So anyway, but thank you guys for watching. Check out our store, animatedapparelcompany.com. We have lots of really cool merch. So if you're into comic book merch, Star Wars merchandise, really anything in pop culture. Recently we added a bunch of Halloween stuff. I know we're late, but we added a lot of Halloween stuff. We think we got some new beanies are coming in. We don't have face masks. I mean, we got a couple, but we don't have really. I would say we don't have. There's some really cool face masks that are supposed to be coming down the pipe, but the way we're getting them, they might come in once COVID's over. I don't know.
Well, then they're a novelty.
Yeah, they are a novelty, Adam Lair. We can just.
Y'all remember COVID?
Yeah, you remember that? Hey, you never know.
Yeah.
Sicknesses come every year. I'm not saying we want something else again, but something else may come. You may want a face mask. But anyway, check out our store, apparelcompany.com. Lots of cool stuff there. Join our community. Again, we're going to make podcasts like this regularly, so I hope you guys like the video format. You get to see our faces and see us be silly. And that's all I got. Joey, anything else you want to add before we?
Of course, I got to end it with.
The Force will be with us all.
Okay. All right. It's officially a wrap. All right, guys. We're out. Have a good one.